Hi friends, this is Bashir Ahmed Gojri with a presentation for the students of class 7th. This presentation is based on the information provided in NCERT book Our Past Second, and this is the first presentation of the chapter Tracing Changes Through 1,000 Years. Dear students, before going into the chapter, we have to go through certain terms which we ought to know, which are frequently used in this chapter. So the terms are cartography. Cartography here means practice of drawing maps. Next term is chronicler, which means a person who writes accounts of historical events. Next term is archive, a collection of historical documents or records providing information about a place, an institution, or a group of people. The next term is scribe. Scribe means a person who copies out documents. And the last term is manuscript, a book or a document or a piece of music written by hand. The focus questions of this presentation are as how sources of history of this period are different from those of the past, and historians have to read different manuscript versions of the same text of this time to guess what the author had originally written. Why so? Dear students, compare these two maps. The first map is a section of the map that was prepared by an Arab geographer whose name was Al-Idrisi. He prepared this map in 1154. In this map, this encircled portion is the Indian subcontinent, and if you closely look at it, here it is Sri Lanka shown. That means Sri Lanka is shown in the north, which we today expect in the south. ऐसे ही अगर इसको आप zoom करोगे, so the terminology which is used in it is written in Arabic. That is, in Al-Idrisi's map, South India is where we would expect to find North India, and Sri Lanka is the island at the top, and place names are marked in Arabic. Now look at this map. This map was prepared by a French cartographer in 1720s. This map seems more familiar to us, and the coastal areas in particular are surprisingly in detail. That is, in nearly 600 years, from 1154 to 1720s, we observe that there were certain improvements in the science of cartography. Looking at these two maps, we come to conclusion that cartography differed in two periods. That means when historians read documents or maps and texts from the past, they have to be sensitive to the different historical backgrounds or the contexts in which information about the past was produced. With time, not only the science of cartography has changed, the context in which information produced also changes, and the languages too have changed considerably. Take for example the term Hindustan. Today, by the term Hindustan, we mean India, the modern nation state of India. In 13th century, Minhajus Siraj meant Hindustan. He used the term Hindustan by which he meant areas of Punjab, Haryana and the lands between Yamuna and Ganga. And in early 16th century, the founder of Mughal Empire Babur used the term Hindustan to describe the flora, fauna, and culture of the inhabitants of the subcontinent. We will quote some more examples like foreigner. If we take the term foreigner, today we mean by it someone who is not an Indian. That means to we Indians, everyone who is not from India is a foreigner. But in medieval times, any stranger who appeared in a given village, someone who was not a part of that society or culture, was a foreigner. That means any unknown person to us in the medieval times was a foreigner. And the Hindi term for this foreigner was Pardesi, Persian term was Ajnabi. That means over a period of time, cartography has changed. Over a period of time, languages have changed. Even some terms have changed their meanings. Now let's have the information about the sources for reading 700 to 1750. Dear students, this is the period which we are going to study in class 7th. And for this period, which sources are available? Earlier in class 6th, we went through the ancient period, and for ancient period the sources were coins, inscriptions, architecture, and textual records. But now, for this period, the number and the variety of the textual records increased during this period. In this period, paper gradually became cheaper and more widely available. As a result, paper began to be used to write holy texts, to write chronicles of the rulers, to write letters, to write teachings of the saints, to write petitions, to write judicial records, and for registers of accounts and taxes. In this period, manuscripts were collected by wealthy people, rulers, monasteries, and temples. They were placed in libraries and archives. These manuscripts and documents provide a lot of detailed information to the historians, but they are also difficult to use. In the absence of printing press, scribes copied manuscripts by hand. As scribes copied manuscripts, they also introduced small changes, a word here, a sentence there. These small differences grew over centuries of copying until the manuscripts of the same text became substantially different from one another. It is for this reason that historians have to read different manuscript versions of the same text to guess what the author had originally written. This was all in this presentation. It will be followed by the next presentation, tracing life through 1,000 years, presentation number 2. Thank you.